just as a preface, so I go to Georgetown University. Anybody plan on going to Georgetown? Trying to go to Georgetown? Any? Yeah, Hoya Sachs in the back. All right. But so I'm wearing this shirt. It says first gen grad. I haven't graduated yet, so maybe I'm creating an omen. But I am a first generation college student and also a low income college student at Georgetown University. And so I'm wearing this right now because part of the scholarship program I'm in has a campaign where we're showing our pride as first generation low income students at Georgetown University. So that's why I'm repping my gear today, just as a preface. But I'm excited to be here. I'm deeply honored. My name is Jerome Smalls. I'm a senior at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business, majoring in marketing, minoring in African American studies, and I hail from Charleston, South Carolina. Does anybody know about Charleston? Ever been to Charleston? Yeah? All right. Well, so back home, we're also known for our seafood, more specifically our crabs. And so I heard in Maryland, y'all known for y'all crabs too, but I had to ask for validity. How do y'all eat them? So when you cook them, y'all put the trash bag on the dining room table and dump them all out on the table? All right, y'all. So y'all get the stamp of approval. Y'all get the stamp of approval. But I wanted to take a moment to congratulate you all, not for just making it to this competition and making it this far, but also for taking the courage to take this leap of faith to endeavor this path of being an entrepreneur. It's special when you get to join this kind of cohort of being an entrepreneur, because I think truly it takes a special type of breed of person to be an entrepreneur. Because to be an entrepreneur, it takes courage to disrupt your own comfort in a way. It takes courage to quit a job and make your own. Granted, you all are students, but when you get to that point, that takes a lot of courage. But even as a student, it takes courage to go down an uncharted path while also being a student. You all had a vision. You had a vision to make your community better, and I know you had a vision to make your community better because the only way an entrepreneur is truly an entrepreneur is when they see a problem within the community and they try to solve it. And that's not easy thing. That's not an easy thing to do either. And if it were an easy thing, everyone would be trying to be an entrepreneur. In fact, a lot of people out here are claiming the word that they are an entrepreneur, right? It's a buzzword in education. It's hot, it's sexy, right? It rolls off the tongue. But it makes me think of Paid in Full. How many of y'all ever seen the movie Paid in Full? Yeah? Okay, so not a lot. Y'all gotta see that movie. I feel old, but that's like a classic. But there's a character in Paid in Full. His name is Rico, right? And he's talking to his boss man. He says, half these dudes wanna be the man just cuz, right? And I think about that when I think about in terms of entrepreneurship. There's a lot of people out here who want to put CEO next to their name on their business card or on their LinkedIn profile, but they ain't putting in the real work. And actually putting in the hours. They're not making the calls, scheduling the appointments, finding the mentors, creating the prototype of their product, watching it fail miserably and going back to the drawing board. The people who put in that real work are the real entrepreneurs, which I'm sure all of you are. And I'm speaking from experience here. So as a kid, I had a small hustle ever since I was little, right? I always wanted to make my own dollar. I remember as a kid, I was the one cleaning out all the gutters, washing all the cars, etc., because my grandparents didn't have a lot. So if I wanted something, I had to go buy it myself. And I remember in 6th grade, I wanted to get a PlayStation 3. And my grandparents couldn't afford it. It was like $300 at the time. So they said, if you want it, you gotta find a way to get it. And I had just I was going to 6th grade for the first time, and because of No Child Left Behind, I was able to take a bus that took me an hour to my middle school because the middle school that I was designated to go to was a failing school. And on that hour-long bus ride, students were always getting hungry and cranky. And so I was like, there's a market here, right? I didn't know that word, but I was like, there's an opportunity here, I could sell something. And so I started selling candy. And I remember taking our EBT card, which we also used to buy our crabs, to Sam's Club. And my mom let me use the EBT card so that way I could get a box of candy. And it was a variety pack of different Skittles and Starbursts. And I didn't know what cost of goods sold was. I didn't know what revenue was. I didn't know what profit was. But what I did know was that box cost $13. Had 30 pieces of candy. I could sell it for $1. The other $17 could go towards my PlayStation 3. And I know my mama wasn't gonna continue to buy these boxes for me, so the next $13 gotta go to the new box. That's all I knew, and that's what I did. And I was selling them quick. I was selling so much. I was selling like a box a day, all on the bus even. So much to the point I was like, I gotta stack up. So then I started selling chocolate. I was like, oh, this is melting in my backpack, can't do that. Went back to the Starburst and Skittles, got the different flavors. Then I got the Big Mama sausages and the chips, and I got the little Huggy juices. And I was selling. I didn't even have room for my book bag for books. And then I transferred schools from 6th grade to 7th grade because they built a new school in my community. So obviously it wasn't failing yet. And it's not failing, it's a great school. But I was forced to go there and I was like, dang, that's gonna mess up my game. Like I'm selling most of my candy on the bus. I don't need a bus no more. I'm riding a bike to school. But actually, I got smarter with it, and it got so big that I had like a little candy cartel. Like I wasn't even touching it no more. I'll come into the bathroom with a Ziploc bag full of candy, hand it off to my boy Melvin. He sell his piece and give me my portion. That's why I started off with Paid in Full. Watch the movie. And I realized that like I was like the guy like selling mad candy, 7th grade. And at the end of 7th grade, I remember that there was a program that was coming to my school over the summer. And it was Yes Carolina, which stands for Youth Entrepreneurship South Carolina. And it was like the origin of their inception. It's a nonprofit that teaches low-income students entrepreneurship and financial literacy. And it was a 3-week program over the summer. And I heard it, I didn't know what an entrepreneur was, I didn't know that jargon. And I for sure wasn't about to come to school for the summer. So I was like, okay, that sounds stupid, whatever. And I kept it pushing. And then I remember the announcement went on right before I left Ms. Zerp's class, my history teacher's class. And I was walking out the door and she stopped me. She said, Jerome, I hear the program's coming this summer. Are you doing it? I was like, nah, Ms. Zerps, I ain't doing that. She says, you should. You're very much so an entrepreneur. You have that spirit. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And so she explained to me what an entrepreneur was and basically a business owner. I knew what a business owner was. And I was like, how you figure I'm one of those? I'm an entrepreneur. And she said, you don't think I know what you do in the back of my classroom? And I said, dang, she gonna bribe me into, she gonna blackmail me into doing this program. I was like, yo, she can't tell the principal, I'm gonna do it. So I did it. And I ended up falling in love with it because I was able to put in terms and conceptualize this idea of entrepreneurship, of business that I had been doing since I was like 10 years old, but now I had the language for it. Now I had the know-how to maneuver it. And then even more so at the end of the camp, similar to this, we had a pitch competition and I won a little $250 to start my first company. It was a handyman service and I called it the Handy Kid. Get it? Okay, all right, that's cool. But I did odd jobs because my grandfather was a carpenter. He taught me a lot how to be handy. And so it was more than just cutting grass. Like I literally knew how to change a toilet in 7th grade and change breaks and like repair holes in walls and stuff like that. And so that's what I did and I fell in love with it. And fast forward to 8th grade, I got a call to the principal's office and I was terrified. I was like, they finally about to get me for selling all this candy. And so I had like the binder that you zip up, you know what I'm talking about? And I had my pencil pouch full with candy as well. So like, I was wearing cargo pants as part of our uniform. This side had like the wild berries Skittles and this side had the solid Skittles. And like, I like tossed them all to my homeboy. I was like, yo, they called me in the Miss Biss office, like, bro, watch this. So I go down to the office terrified, and then lo and behold, I see this older white gentleman sitting in the chair next to my principal with his legs crossed, and I could see his ankles. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here. And he looks at me, he says, you must be Jerome Smalls. Your teacher over the summer has told me a lot about you. I want you to be the Youth Entrepreneur of the Year for South Carolina. And I was like, yo, I don't know what you're talking about. 1, 2, I don't think I can trust anybody who doesn't wear socks. But then he explains to me that like this opportunity allows me to go to New York City, all expense paid, and I can meet other entrepreneurs from across the world because Yes Carolina was an extension of another nonprofit called NIFTY, which is the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. And I said, yo, I never flown before, I never been to New York before, like, yes, sign me up. And in that moment, my life was changed forever. And not because I got, this country ghetto little kid got the trip to go to New York and his first opportunity to fly, but more so because in that moment, I felt validated as an entrepreneur. And that instilled a fundamental value of entrepreneur, of working for myself, of problem solving, and a lot of grit that still reigns true in my core identity to this day. And these are all traits that I know all of you have. And with a mentality like that, you can never lose. ever. Because every mistake is a learning lesson. And then every failure is just a new opportunity for innovation. And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. Oh, that didn't work? I bet. How can we make it work? What can we do to change it? And who can we call if we don't even know how to do it? But it forces you to think outside the box. And that's the mentality of an entrepreneur. And that's how I went from washing cars to selling candy to doing odd jobs. And then even in high school, I tried to create like this web page design company, I failed. And then now to this point where I'm working with teachers with my current startup. And so my current startup is called Small Talk. But before I tell you about what I'm doing now, let me give you some backdrop. So I always had a passion for giving back to young people just as much as Yes Carolina had given back to me, because I realized had it not been for the investment of this nonprofit and the great people behind it, me getting to Georgetown probably wouldn't have been likely. It changed my trajectory. So I always been giving back to young people, even since I was in high school, going back to the middle school and so on and so forth. And when I got to college, I kept that same mentality in an entrepreneurial way. I started my own organization on campus where we mentor young men, and then I worked with a nonprofit in DC, and we worked in some different schools. And then I had the opportunity to write my first book. And I actually wrote my book through a class offered at Georgetown. So all you not going to Georgetown, reconsider it. But I did write that book, and the only criteria was that it had to be nonfiction, but anything we were passionate about. And I was passionate about youth development and more specifically mentorship. So I said, how can I write something that embodies all of those things? And so I wrote this book, Small Talk, as a means of me offering advice to young people from my perspective as a young person. And it's not like the 10 ways how you hack college. It's as a young person, how you deal with love, how you deal with vulnerability, how you deal with taking ownership of your own education. And I really opened up, and I explored stories of my life that I never really explored before until writing this book. And at first, I wanted to create a nonprofit that paired college-age motivational speakers like myself with youth like you. And so that's what we were doing. And our goal was to create like tours, speaking tours, and then get corporate sponsorship. And we did it last spring, and we got Lyft to sponsor our first tour, and we were well on our way. But this was all before the book actually was published. And then when the book came out, teachers started reading it. And the way I showed my duality as a student and as a person and as a low-income student and growing up in Charleston, South Carolina, teachers were like, yo, this is really giving me a full perspective of you. Teachers who taught me and were like, if I didn't know that about you, you were, in my AP class, who's to say what I don't know about all these other students? And then I saw an opportunity to pivot, because that's what all real entrepreneurs do. When their customers talk to them, when people talk to them, they see opportunity and they capture it. And that's when my principal gave me my lucky break. And last August, I was able to lead a 3-hour professional development training for 150 teachers. And that's what Small Talk is now. It's a company that's working to provide teachers with the resources to better understand and connect with their students through storytelling and cultural competency. Now, it's been a learning journey, but that's the journey that I'm on, and it all started with me having this mentality of grit and of innovation. And I'm always looking for ways to grow and better my community. And with that said, I want to leave you all with a challenge. How many of you know what a civic entrepreneur is? You ever heard of that? Well, let's bring it back. How about what social enterprises are? Does anybody know what a social enterprise is? Okay, a little bit. So for those of you who don't know, a social enterprise, simply put, is a company, an organization, a business that is a for-profit business but has a social mission. So some examples of that would maybe like Tom's, right? You buy a shoe, they give a shoe. Another example like that would be Jaden Smith's Just Water, because the box is made out of plant-based material and the cap is made out of sugar. So it's completely biodegradable, it's sustainable, it's good for the environment. But I personally don't believe that there should be a distinction between a social enterprise and just a normal enterprise. I think that if Yes Carolina taught me anything, it was that without community, you don't have a company, because your product or service is being bought by the people in your community. And if they don't pay you, you don't have revenue, you surely don't have profit. And so with that, I personally believe that as an entrepreneur, your moral obligation is to serve those who have served you. And we allow enterprises to be solely profit driven. When we do that, I think they're often willing to do just about any and everything to make money. And this usually has a devastating effect on people of color, developing countries, and our planet as a whole. So I am wanting to leave you all with the challenge of being civic entrepreneurs, because civic entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs that uphold the civic duty to do good by everyone and everything that their business interacts with. Civic entrepreneurs don't just serve the bottom line of profit, but they serve a triple bottom line. Has anyone ever heard that term, triple bottom line? So a lot of companies work to serve and get profit. The triple bottom line is serving for profit, for people, and for the planet. And like I said at the beginning, I am extremely impressed by all of you having the courage to solve a problem within your community, because you all had a vision to make it better. And so my only question is, will you live up to it? Thank you, and good luck on today's challenge.